All right, Joy, thanks. It's 5:02 right now, and we are following some breaking news from overnight. There has been a huge break in the case of the murders of soon-to-be parents Savanah Soto, her unborn baby Fabian, and the baby's father, Matthew Guerra.
San Antonio police arresting a teenager and his father in connection with those crimes. News 4's Christina De Leon joins us now with details on the case and how police found the suspects. Christina, good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, everyone. Police say it was Savanah's cell phone that actually led to the big break. They were able to find it at the scene, and with the help of Secret Service, it actually led to the information that led them ultimately to their suspects. Police arresting Ramon Preciado for abuse of a corpse. The 53-year-old did not talk to our cameras as he was taken off to jail. He is accused of helping his son dispose of the bodies of Savanah Soto, her unborn son Fabian, and their father Matthew Guerra after they were killed by his son. Now, police also arresting 19-year-old Christopher Preciado. Police say he is the one who killed the three during a drug deal. Police say they were all murdered on December 21st, just before midnight, at another location.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. Now, this is a breaking news and an update on the Savanah Soto case. As at a few hours ago, a father and his son have been arrested in connection with the deaths of 18-year-old pregnant Savanah Soto and her boyfriend and father of her yet-to-have-been-born child, Matthew Guerra. Now, this father and his son were arrested after a thorough investigation by the police. The father, 53-year-old Ramon Preciado, and his son, 19-year-old Christopher Ray Preciado, were both arrested at their home by police. Initially, Christopher Ray Preciado was actually charged with capital murder, but then, as further investigations went on, the additional charges of the abuse of a corpse and alter or destroy of a human corpse were also added. His father, Ramon Preciado, also had a charge of altering or destroying a human corpse added on after him initially facing an abuse of a corpse charge for helping his son move the remains of the couple after the unaliving of Savanah Soto and her boyfriend, Matthew Guerra. Now, the unaliving of Savanah and Guerra took place just before midnight on the 21st of December, with Savanah Soto and Guerra being unalived at a different location before they were actually transported to where they would have been found eventually by police some few days afterwards. Now, if you recall, Savanah's family reported her missing on the 22nd of December, which was just one day before she was actually meant to be induced at the hospital to deliver her baby. If you are not familiar with the inception of this case, just go to my playlist. I have the full story there, and it will be good you watch that as well, because in that episode, getting to the conclusion, I made an analysis of my 2 cents on this case with regards to the possibility of who or what could have led to the demise of this couple. I gave 3 possible root causes and said that one of them might actually end up being the actual root cause when the police make a breakthrough. And as per my findings on this arrest, it seems that one of the analysis that I did has actually played out here, and I'll get to it. Now, according to the police report, the family said that they couldn't get a hold of Savanah on her cell phone at the time she went missing, and it eventually led to a search, which eventually led to they being found at the time they were found in a 2013 grey Kia Optima, and this was the alert that they gave as the description of Matthew Guerra's vehicle, and they were then found in this vehicle. A footage came out. It's all in this episode that I did in that playlist. You could just go and watch it. Now, fast forward to the 26th of December, Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra were both found deceased. So from this point, the investigations had commenced, and they were trying to solve this because, not just because it's a crime, but also due to the nature of it. Mind you, Savanah was heavily pregnant, so she was due to actually be induced to give birth just a day before all this transpired. Now, upon they being recovered from the vehicle, the Bexar County Medical Examiner confirmed that Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra both passed on due to a GSW wound to their heads. Now, while investigators were waiting on a search warrant for the vehicle, they were told by some family members that Matthew Guerra sold narcotics and would use his cell phone to set up drug deals. And according to the police report, it was also advised that Matthew Guerra would sometimes post money and narcotics on Instagram. It was stated that people wanted to rob Matthew Guerra and also stated that he had actually been shot at before. Now, all this was pointing to one of the suggestions I made, but I'll get to that at the end of this video. For now, let's talk about how police were able to get this father and his son. So, there was a surveillance footage that was retrieved by police that is also catered for in my previous video, but in that surveillance footage, it showed a Chevy Silverado pull up next to Matthew's Kia Optima in the complex parking lot, and you would see that the footage is also showing a heavy-set man get out of the Silverado, speak to a person driving Matthew's vehicle, and then get a towel and appears to wipe down the outside of the driver's side door of Matthew's vehicle. A few minutes later, you'd also see that the footage shows the Silverado drove off. Now, when I watched this footage, and if you never saw it, it's still played, you can see. When I watched it, I noticed that one of them was heavily built, as in quite overweight. And in my mind, I was like, this guy wouldn't be hard to find because his stature alone will make him stand out. And as it will turn out, investigators tracked down Matthew's vehicle being in the area of Charlie Chan Drive on the night of the murder. Now, a search on the suspect's vehicle seen in the surveillance footage led investigators to a home of Charlie Chan where detectives were met by Mr. Ramon Preciado. And I'm sure at this point when the detectives met him, looking at his stature alone, they were readily able to identify him to an extent that there's a higher possibility he is the man they saw in the footage. And upon approaching Ramon Preciado, he actually told the detectives that they needed to talk to his son. So it's like he knew why they were there. He knew why they were there. I think he was just waiting for them to trace and get to him. And that is one of the things I found a bit surprising and worrisome, because if he knew, why did he still have to sit at home and wait all this whilst police were scratching their heads, turning tables, turning rocks, investigating thoroughly, trying to find a lead? Why didn't they just come straight to the police themselves and narrate what happened? Because that could have given them a fighting chance of being believed as not being people who intended to unalive this couple, but maybe the unaliving occurred through an accident. But in this case, they didn't come to the police. The police eventually had to investigate and came to them. Now, from that point, Ramon Preciado and his son Christopher Preciado were taken downtown for questioning by the police. And according to what I found, Christopher told the detectives that Matthew Guerra pointed a gun at him, and this led to a struggle ensuing between himself and Matthew Guerra. And in the process, unfortunately, Savanah Soto took a GSW to the head. Now, Savanah Soto just had a GSW to her being by virtue of this struggle. She wasn't part of the struggle, but just because she was with Matthew Guerra, her boyfriend at that time, on this mission, it's led to this. Now, Christopher Preciado went on to also explain that after this one, another struggle ensued again between himself and Matthew Guerra, and this time around it ended with Matthew Guerra being also given a GSW in his head with that same weapon. Someone would say, maybe it makes sense, but someone would also say how convenient that this story adds up and the victims are not around to either corroborate it or deny it. But of course, we know the police are able to measure all these things and determine all these things through blood spatter, through gunshots, entry points, and a whole lot of complicated things that the police are really good at. So I am not expecting them to just take this testimony or this account of what Christopher Preciado is saying and just leave it like that. And as it will turn out, the police actually analyzed what he was saying and they realized that Christopher's version of events were actually inconsistent with the evidence they had collected from the crime scene and from the vehicle of the victims. Now, as the investigation continues, the police indicated that they were working to unveil the full extent of the crimes committed by the father, Ramon Preciado, and his son, Christopher, leaving the community in shock and mourning. It didn't end there. Now, the Bexar County District Attorney, Joe Gonzalez, also released a statement on this issue with regards to the arrest that had been made. So this was what he said. SAPD has recently announced the arrest of Christopher Preciado in connection with the murders of Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra. I commend SAPD for working diligently and effectively to investigate these murders and make arrests. The work of the Bexar County District Attorney's Office now begins. And yeah, I agree. Because after all this, the prosecutor should be able to do his job effectively to bring the justice. The police have seemingly done their part and it looks like they did it by the book. So any evidence that they collected is admissible in court. So it's now left to see whether the district attorney would also be able to prosecute based on this. And he went on to say this: under Texas law, a person can be charged with capital murder when there is more than one victim in a murder and there is evidence to believe the defendant caused the death of the individuals. In this case, defendant Christopher Preciado can be charged with capital murder because Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra were both unalived. Moreover, under Texas law, an unborn child is included in the definition of a person. Therefore, Christopher Preciado can be charged with an additional count of capital murder for the death of baby Fabian. The district attorney office will await the filing of the complete case investigation in order to thoroughly review the facts and make the appropriate charging decisions. Additionally, should a Bexar County grand jury find probable cause that Mr. Preciado committed these crimes and chose to indict him, our Capital Crimes Committee will consider whether to seek the death penalty. Since the case has not yet been presented to a grand jury, it is too early to comment on what punishment will be sought. So I think it's a step in the right direction because the police have done their part and now prosecution needs to do their part. But then, one key evidence that helped the police to get to these suspects in the first place was the phone of Savanah Soto. It was found in their Kia vehicle when their remains were found. And upon going through, the police detected that there was a Google search done on this phone, and one of the addresses was an address which led to these suspects. And upon getting to these suspects, they saw the pickup truck that was seen in the CCTV footage that the police got at the time Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra were declared missing. Now, officers then conducted surveillance at this home, and then when they believed the suspect's vehicle was what they thought it was, they then sought to obtain an arrest warrant affidavit. Now, like I said initially, eventually when they knocked at the door, the father and son were in this house, and when the father, Ramon Preciado, answered and saw it was the police, he just said that he knew why the police were there and that they needed to talk to his son, and the rest is where we are now. Now, as it stands now, per the law, the unborn child is also classified as a person, so it means it's 3 people. So it's very likely that the trial or prosecution or the charge of capital murder would definitely stick on Christopher Preciado. And so it's going to be tied to 3 people, not 2, because the unborn child, per their law, is also classified as a person. So it's 3 people. Now, it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there because Christopher Preciado actually is seen here as the only person responsible for the actual unaliving of Matthew Guerra and Savanah Soto. His dad, Ramon Preciado, is only charged, or his role was in him helping his son, Christopher, to move or transport the bodies to where they were found eventually. So as it stands now, this is where we are with the case. And it turns out also that Christopher Preciado actually has no previous criminal history. But then his father, Ramon Preciado, has had some criminal history. Of course, he's 53 years old, so I don't know the details of his criminal history. But at the age of 53, it's possible he might have made some mistakes in his youthful days but then let's go and watch the footage from the police when these 2 suspects were picked up and they were being walked to the police vehicle to be escorted, and then the interview the police gave, which ties in to what I said could be the possible root cause of the unaliving of Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra. After that, I'll come in and connect all the dots, and then we'll round up.
Why did he do it? Are you sorry for what happened? Did you know Savanah was 9 years?
Make a hole, guys.
This is your question. Have 4 sides.
Sorry?
They want to know why. Why did you do that?
Sorry?
Did you do it? Why did you do that? Why was it from the family?
Close to Christmas? What? I am. You're worse. You sorry? Tell us. Tell us. What's going on?
Are you unborn baby? Did you kill him or did you just hide the evidence?
Why'd you look for them?
Was it retaliation?
You sorry? Who killed him?
If it wasn't you, who was it then?
Watch out, guys. Make a hole.
¿Quién te ayudó? ¿Quién te ayudó? Esta es tu última oportunidad para
Excuse me, guys. Excuse me, guys. Closing the door. Excuse me. Excuse me, guys. Está saliendo el segundo.
sorry?
That's what I'm saying. It's my unborn child. Everything in the child.
Habrá que confirmar con la policía si se encuentran con otras personas que debemos identificar. Igualmente tenemos el primer hombre
I don't know if you need this for the cameras. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant Washington Moscoso, Washington Moscoso. So the individuals you saw this evening, the first individual's name is Ramon Preciado, 53 years old, SID number 443651. The second individual was Christopher Preciado, 19 years old, SID number 1191061. So the two individuals we just walked out today, again, is a father and son. The first individual is a father, the second individual is a son. They're going to be charged, the son's going to be charged this evening with capital murder, and the father's going to be charged with abuse of a corpse. So we do expect more charges to be pending. So I'm not going to go into the whole thing. We all know what kind of led us to this to where we are today. I will say that when we recover, or when the bodies were discovered on Danny K, obviously the investigation began. SAPD detectives made that location and started collecting evidence. One of the key pieces of evidence that we did collect at the scene was Savanah's cell phone, and that was handed over to our technology team, who was able to download some information on there. With the assistance of the U.S. Secret Service, we were able to get enough information, and so that information was given to our detectives today. With that information, the detectives were able to find a possible location of where the suspect vehicle that was released on that surveillance camera, the surveillance video, possible location where that suspect vehicle might be. They made that location, and sure enough, the vehicle was there. They did a little bit of surveillance on the video, or on the vehicle, and then were able to determine which house it belonged to. They went up, knocked on the door. The first gentleman, the first individual, the father answered the door. He knew why the police were there. Was cooperated fully with the investigation. We're right here to headquarters, and our detectives were able to start interviewing both the son and the father. Again, they were both at the home. They were both brought down here, and the interrogations began. Through interrogating the individuals, our detectives had enough. Based on what they said, there was enough information there to get a warrant signed by a judge tonight. Again, to charge Christopher with capital murder and Ramon with abuse of a corpse. Again, there will be more charges pending, but this is what we have right now. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Due to the capital murder for the son and then abuse of the corpse charge for the dad, does that mean that you guys believe the son killed them and then the dad helped hide the bodies?
Yes. And so I want to touch base on something real quick. Since the release of the video that we put out on the 28th, internet has blown up with people sending tips and people just sending misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation out there. These two individuals are the only suspects that we were looking for. They were arrested. There were many names being thrown around on the internet. Those people had nothing to do with this. We vetted them and everything. They didn't have anything to do with these murderers. So the individual, again, Christopher, we believe committed the murders of Matthew and Savanah, and then Ramon helped kind of dump the body. It appears to be a narcotic-related deal that went bad.
Do we know the connection between this father and son and Matthew and Savanah, or the connection to the apartment complex?
So there's no apparent connection to the apartment complex. It's just a place where they went to go dispose or hide the vehicle with the bodies in it, and it appears that it was a drug deal, so there was like a drug connection to the suspect and the two victims.
When you say abuse of a corpse, can you talk about that a little bit? Was there any mutilation, or is that?
It's just when you hiding the body, moving the body after discovering that and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
When he killed him, what exactly?
So the December 21st, which is a Thursday, just before midnight, is when the actual murders took place. On that. Mm-hmm.
And are they going to be charged for the baby? Because in the state of Texas, technically, they could be charged for a third.
Right. So like I said, there's going to be possible charges pending, more charges pending. Our detectives are going to talk with the Bexar County DA to determine if they're going to be any charges they're going to be facing any charges related to the unborn baby.
And do we know if she was dilated at all?
I didn't have that information from the medical examiners. I know that she was scheduled to be induced. And she didn't make her appointment, which is why the family went to the police to file the missing persons report.
Did he say where exactly they killed him?
I don't have exactly location. We just know that they were killed at a different location and then taken to the apartment complex to dispose of the vehicle and the bodies. I know there was some Spanish questions I wanted to knock out real quick.
Sí, ¿podría darnos un resumen pequeño para la audiencia hispana de estas personas que presentó?
No, 11 preguntas.
Nada, unas preguntas. Si tienes preguntas particular.
¿A quiénes presentaron esta noche?
Sí, esta noche el primer señor que salió es Ramon Preciado, de 53 años, y el segundo es Christopher Preciado, de 19 años. Christopher Preciado es el que hizo los asesinatos de las víctimas, y su papá Ramón ayudó en esconder o tratar de esconder el carro y las víctimas.
¿Las dos personas eran las que aparecían en el video de vigilancia que presentaron la semana pasada?
Sí. Ajá.
¿Había un motivo para matarlos?
Parece que había una transacción de drogas que no fue fue mal, la transacción de drogas fue mal y resultó en la muerte de las dos víctimas.
When you say drug deals, you mean were they buying or selling? Do you know what?
Well, I mean, someone was buying and someone was selling, so it was a drug.
Can Ramon be charged with these murders through the accomplice theory or the multiple parties theory?
I'm sorry, could who?
Ramon, the dad. Could he be charged with the murders as well through an accomplice theory?
No, he was not. He was not there during the commission of the murders. He was there kind of, I guess he was called afterwards to help dispose or help his son.
These two have previous records.
I'm sorry?
These two have previous records?
Christopher has no previous criminal history, and Ramon did have a small, he had some prior criminal history.
So are you all done looking for suspects at this point?
Yeah, we don't have any other suspects that we're looking for.
And then that surveillance video, were they alive during that surveillance
No.
video? They were not alive?
They were not alive, no.
Last question, guys. Christopher killed them and then moved the bodies to the car?
Correct. Well, I mean, I don't know if he moved them into the vehicle. The vehicle with the bodies in was driven to that apartment complex. It didn't happen at that apartment complex.
So ultimately, who's going to make the decision on the final charges? Is that going to be the DA's office?
Correct, yes. So our detective, again, tonight are charging them with Christopher with capital murder and Ramon with abuse of a corpse. They are working on some other charges that they're going to file. But regarding, I think specifically the question that you had about the unborn baby, they're going to have a conversation with the DA to determine whether they can charge or put the baby as another victim on this.
So does SAP have any say whenever they talk to the DA's office?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a collaboration with our DA's
Would you
office.
say SAPD is going to seek that they're charged for the unborn baby?
Our detectives are going to do everything they can to bring justice to the family.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming out tonight.
So there you have it. And you saw them being escorted to their vehicles. You saw the media asking them those questions. And at a point, what Ramon Preciado said. But most importantly also, you saw what the police official said with regards to the possible root cause of this unaliving of the couple, where he's attributing it to a possible suspicion that it had to do with a drug deal, a narcotics deal. And the substance involved here is the sale of weed. Yeah, weed or Indian hemp. And it looks like Matthew Guerra was dealing in this. And if you've watched my previous video I made on this case when it first broke, I gave 3 possible root causes. The first was that they have a history of domestic violence. So there's a possibility this could have been an escalated form of it, which could have led to a murder-suicide. But then I indicated I don't think that's the possibility here, because the police in themselves have also ruled it out. And then the second one was me linking what had happened to this couple to the possibility of what happened a year ago to Savanah Soto's brother, her younger brother, who had been unalived by another person, and this other person was in court being tried on that charge, and there happened to be a scuffle between the Soto family and this person in court, at which point my analysis was there could be a possibility what had happened to Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra now could be a retaliation from the camp of this person. That could be a possibility. But then again, the third one was that Matthew Guerra admittedly was into some shady things, and his mom indirectly admitted to this in her Facebook post, talking about her son doing what he does for money, but he's a good person. And I was talking about the fact that that thing that is not good, but he is doing it just for money, could have repercussions and consequences coming after him and anyone close to him, and by extension, Savanah Soto. And it's playing out here per the police reports that Ramon Preciado did what he did to these couples, allegedly, due to a drug deal that went bad. Now, my question is, if that is the case, why would a father or a guy who says he loves his girlfriend and is expecting a child with this girlfriend take her to a narcotics deal? I don't get it. It's very irresponsible and it's very callous. I'm not trying to speak ill of him, but we have to speak the truth for what it is. If that is what actually happened, then I think Matthew Guerra did not take the best decision here. And unfortunately, that has led to what has happened. Unless Savanah Soto was also involved equally. We can't know this right now. So all these are assumptions and possibilities. But, we are waiting to see what the investigations itself will establish. At least it has linked it to a possible drug bust or drug deal gone bad. So let's see how things unfold. I'm following this case. Go to the comment section, just type RIP Savanah Soto, RIP Matthew Guerra, RIP Baby Fabian, and let's commiserate with the families. I hope they have the strength to go through all this. And I tip my hats off again to the police, and I'm hoping that justice will be served fully and swiftly. Until then, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so, and stay safe out there. I'll catch you on the next one.